So, your intellectual mind can choose differently, and from your reactions and responses, this will create a different pattern. This then starts to change your mind, the neurons and synapses, and the way it flows. So, for example, people ask me, like, how did I get here to where I am? Yes, through self awareness, but then knowing what my go to response is really helped me. So, your go to response can be very, very deeply intertwined and symbiotic with ego. Ego keeps us safe, fearfully. So, ego keeps us away from things, people, situations that we don't really want to explore, where we don't feel like we need to explore. We put up walls, very big walls, tall walls. Stay away from me. I'm keeping myself safe. So this is why the podcast is called Strip Down to Love. Stripping away ego and lovingly explore it and letting it go. Being able to get to a deeper soul love. So this is why the podcast is called Strip Down to Love, because we are folding back those layers that maybe keep us imprisoned. And sometimes, and people spiritually awake at different times. So if you're comparing yourself to someone else, then it's just not your timeline. See, that is taking you off the path of what you're actually supposed to be learning. So if your pattern and your desire is to always, and you may not know this, is to compare yourself to someone else, that right there is making you blinded towards what you're actually supposed to be learning. Or it could just be blinding you from loving yourself more, because your focus is so far out towards other people and other things that you're not able to look at yourself and love yourself for who you are. Because if you're listening to this, you have a good heart and you are a loving being. All right, ego is our persona, the upfront and center person that we present to the world, and we continually choose responses from. Letting go of ego and pieces of ego can be scary. And yes, it is very scary, because ego keeps us safe. Ego keeps us away from fire, right? Or anything else that could be putting us in harm. But ego could also be inhibiting you from growing and from empowering your own power, stimulating your soul. Soul is loving, kind, compassionate, and warm, and does not always, in a fearful way, push you into an action that you need to do. The messages from your intuition and your soul are warm, kind, and soft. So that's also another trick to know that if you're being motivated by ego, or if you're going deeper into your soul and listening to the intuition and the love that your soul is trying to provide to you. All right? So here's the story. My go-to response would be to clam up and get mad. I would just throw up a shield of anger so that I wouldn't be bothered. I wouldn't have to answer questions. I thought by doing this, I wouldn't be hurt in the long run. And when you're transversing this world as a teenager, so there were a couple of things that happened when I was a teenager, and thinking that you're in love. You're so young. I don't know. Do you even know how to love yourself? Anyway, that's a whole different other story, because it includes being a child and then growing up, teenage years and through your 20s and on. But so there was a couple things that happened when I was a teenager that really kind of threw me off. But at that time also as well, you're trying to get a running start towards the world. Like, I am ready to be out there. I am ready to, be an adult. And maybe you are, but we are just so filled with all of these new worldly emotions and situations that maybe we don't necessarily know how to analyze or shift or sift through them with the right eye, not with a good eye, but it's with the right eye and choosing the right paths in those situations. So anyway, at that time, I was just filled with a lot of pain. And I learned how to use anger to stop anyone from causing me more pain. And as you can see, if you are filled with, a volatile energy such as anger, you may create more scenarios that have you being angry, but you continue to choose anger because it's part of ego, it's part of keeping you safe. But at that point, you're also have the ability to hurt others when you continue to choose anger. Anger is destruction, right? When you hurt others, you hurt your own soul. So when you hurt your soul, this is the one that manifests for us, our soul. I was going to keep that for the other parts of this podcast, but I wanted to bring it in now because it's sort of impromptu. Our soul is the one that is manifesting for us. And if we continue to hurt our soul and to compare our soul and to put our soul down or put us down, our soul hurts. And it may not be able to give our intellectual mind what it wants. So when we are just filled with so much pain, this travels up to our intellectual mind and doesn't change any synapses, flow of energy, chemicals. It doesn't change anything up here. But it continues to change and hurt our soul, our emotional body. Okay? So continuously choosing a lower level tool in turn continues this to become natural. So we continuously choose from the box of ego, anger, don't talk to me. It will become natural. It will become so natural that you may not know that it is destroying you until you are actually in a place where you ask yourself, how did my life turn into this? All right? So, to sum everything all up, self-awareness is our current mood, our patterns, our responses, reactions, our knee-jerk reactions, our pattern that we have created for ourselves in order to keep ourselves safe or to feel comfortable in, cultural patterns, patterns or societal ideations of that have created a pattern for us. And self-awareness is also knowing your current situation and knowing that you have a choice to choose this option 1 through 10. You don't always have to pull from the toolbox of ego in order to live in this world. A lot of us are in survival mode or have come to a point where our whole entire life was survival mode. And so we are only choosing from the box of being a survivor or survivor mode. There are other boxes of tools and love that is available to you. And we are all able to add in these wonderful higher level emotions that grow our soul. All right? Ego keeps us safe. Ego is part of us. And sometimes when you choose differently, it may seem a little bit disloyal, right? That's not me. I always keep it real. But we're keeping it real to ego, to the persona that we share with the world, which may or may not be true to what your soul desires and what our soul really wants for us. Our soul can manifest anything, but it's aligning the soul with the intellectual mind and changing how we view and use ego. Choosing from ego creates a very hardened shell, so less energy movement. There's not a lot of energy moving through that body and moving through that intuition because we are stuck behind a wall of ego. When energy is not moving, we are not moving as well. Lessons may come slower, manifesting may take a whole bunch of years because we choose to stand behind this specific wall, which is driven by ego. Ego we can choose from ego very easily. But in a time of being faced with being angry versus choosing kindness, it may be and feel foreign, but just try it. Then maybe it'll become natural. I mean, hey, if you gotta fight for yourself and go right ahead and be on the defense. But if you're actually in a safe place, and your go-to was to always become mad, hateful, think people are being mean to you, think kindness and see what happens. It may actually feel better. You may actually learn that you don't have to stay mad for 2, 3, 5, 10 days. You only be questioning the behavior of each party for maybe 10 minutes, allowing you to have room to do other things and to focus on things that make you happy. See, not choosing from ego allows you to make space and make room for other things, to enjoy life. A lot of people, what is life? I'm not enjoying myself. It's the choices that we're making every day. And even in split moments, because that's our pattern. But if we rearrange those patterns, retrain our brains, our bodies, our senses out of those patterns to choose higher level patterns, it can be done. All right, so your heart center starts to close and you're very far away from your intuition when you continuously choose from ego. Therefore, I started to become very tired of situations that would manifest. Like I said, my go-to response to choose from ego was anger. All right? And so I got very tired of situations that would manifest because they were fueled by anger. They would make me angry because it is destroying me ultimately and internally making me have pain. So you see that cyclical pattern? I'm manifesting situations that are making me angry. I get more angry. In turn, I have pain. Round and round and round and round. That's where depression comes from. Cutting your heart off. Less movement of energy, having internal pain, and that's where sadness comes from, because internally you have so much pain and have shut yourself off from having an open heart. Last episode I talked about how when we feel unsafe, we're going through pain, we're going through going through a painful situation, we are shutting off our hearts from being open. That's like our first thing, right? We're gonna cover this because we have to save what is left of our hearts. Our heart will always be there, just fully connected to our soul. Your soul will never abandon you, and it will always be there for you. So we cut off our hearts from our intuition, and we cut off our hearts from the information that is flowing through it every moment. But it's in order to protect ourselves. But that is where sadness and depression comes from, because we are disconnected. We disconnect first, and that's where sadness and depression comes from. It's not the opposite way around. Because we cut off our hearts and our energy, our love, to save our love that we have left from being hurt. But we are not allowing the energy to flow. And so also with this goes with manifesting. Slowing down and using that little fuel that we have left, because we cut off ourselves from enjoying life. Okay? So what I'm trying to impress upon you is that you don't need to cut your heart off from anything. Keep it open. There are other ways to protect yourself rather than cutting off or shutting off your heart, encapsulating it in this hard, non-movement type of energy.